Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Sorry it's been a bit of a while since I last uploaded. I've been a bit ill recently and my throat's not been feeling too great and it's making my voice sound a bit stupid. Well, more stupid than usual anyway. So I do apologise for that, but today we're going to be taking a look at the SU-85M. Now, this vehicle is grouped with the regular Su-85 and it's a rather forgotten vehicle. From what I see, I usually see the normal 85, but I do rarely see this one, and I think that is down in part to there being in the IS-1 some pretty good premiums, and the first T-34-85 at 5.3, and this vehicle just doesn't really have a place with most players, and it's quite overlooked for how good it is, and it does have some quite impressive qualities. It is a tank destroyer with a lot of armour, so the front plate is 75mm thick, which means that I'd say 90% of the time the German 75 and the American 76 can't actually pen your frontal armour. Now, the weaknesses you've got are the driver's hatch and the cupola. We'll have a look at those in a bit. But I've got a game today. It didn't go too well towards the end, but I think it's a decent enough example of what this vehicle does well. So I hope you enjoy that. But first, I'm going to show you a few little important details in the hangar and talk a little bit about the lineup I'll be using as well. So there are a few little things I want to cover with this tank in the hangar. Now, generally most of the time it's a bit of a pet peeve of mine when YouTubey people have a look in the hangar at a vehicle because, you know, it's just me showing you information that you can see for yourself at your leisure. So it's a bit redundant me doing it, but I'm just going to outline where to kill this tank and how to use it the most effectively with the armor as a helping guide here. So the weak points will be this driver's port here, which is a flat 70. Pretty much anything can go through there if you know what you're doing. So if you have some bushes or jerry cans, whatever, cover that up, or at least just to the point where the flat part isn't completely visible. Now, this flat bit here, it can be penned just about by some of the guns you'll be seeing, but this part here, most of the time, you know, nothing's going to cut through that. But the lower down on the front plate that you aim, the more likely you are to pen. There is an oddly angled part here that you can go through pretty reliably if you hit it, but it's not something I'd recommend aiming for. The other part is the cupola here. Now, sometimes the round's going to go straight through, just kill the commander, but depending on the angle you shoot it at, it's going to explode and you're going to knock out at least 3 of the crew. Now, while angling this thing, you're going to want to point the hull this way towards an enemy. So if an enemy's over here, you're going to want to angle this side. And if you are angled relatively nicely about here, you can bounce the American 90 and the German 88. But do be wary of this part of the track though, because for some reason anything can cut right through there if they hit the track. It's a bit of an odd mechanic, I'm not sure why it happens, but always angle this side. And the reason for that is if you angle on this side, someone paying attention will notice that they can go right through this bulge created by the cupola here, and at that angle it's going to knock the tank out completely. So that's a no-no as well. Always angle to this point if you can. So for the lineup itself, I would recommend taking the Su-6 as it is a brilliant attacker and can take on some planes. The newly acquired Type 65, which is a very versatile vehicle as well as being an SPA. The ISU-152 for up tiers, you can use that HE or that AP round to great effect. The IS-1, as you know, you're pretty standard heavy. Got the decent 85, decent armor, decent mobility, standard stuff really. And the T-34-85, as you can use it even if you're up tiered, have a bit of a flank, and the gun, as all of the others, is still effective. And the Su-85 itself, which I would consider the best option to take, maybe apart from the IS-1, if you're at 5.3, 5.7, as most of the things you see are going to struggle with your armor a little bit, and your gun will easily take out pretty much anything you can run into. So, I have a game on Ardennes to show you, and I do hope you enjoy. So here we are on Ardennes. It's a 5-7 game against America. I couldn't really get any games against Germany, they're always on my team or completely absent. But I think taking this thing out against America still does show the advantages of the vehicle very well. Now, on that note as well, I wouldn't really recommend taking this out against Britain, just because the armour isn't really going to stand up to the Sabre or the AP. And I did find that out the hard way a couple times. But what I'm going to do on this run is I'm going to start off by going around the side of the town, being a casemate. Going through the town head on is going to leave me open to the Hellcats that we're going to rush through, and the Shermans as well. So if I hug the outside of the town using the bushes, I'm going to be able to minimise the directions of which I can be engaged, especially if I can come around the back. So if I enter at the top of their side of the town, I'm likely not going to run into anything from my sides or my rear. Because the nature of this tank is I need to keep my front pointed towards the enemy at all times, as with all casemate tanks, so to be most effective. Now I do get a little bit of a spook coming up. See if you can spot this Sherman. Don't think you can see it yet, but in a few seconds it's going to jump out. And I'm just telling you to watch for it because I didn't see it and I can rarely see it while I watch this recording back. Sort of X-Files Sherman. Anyway, luckily for me I do have a T-34-85 with me here to help me out. There it goes, just pops out of that bush. So I keep driving because I know he's going to get shot in the side and we're all good. So lucky me to have that guy there, otherwise I wouldn't have got very far in this match at all. Just coming through here because I can hear two 75s going off and that's going to mean jumbos. So I'm just checking around me, making sure I'm not exposing my sides. And I'm going to try and go around the back of those jumbos. Because even the 85 struggles with their front armour sometimes, and if they're sitting down that main long road, they can be some trouble for the T-34s if they know what they're doing. And since the jumbos are out in force with the summer event, the players who are driving them are generally pretty good. So engaging them from the back here, slowly and surely, is going to be the best option. Just making sure that nothing is going to come on my sides and put an end to my run. Just checking the right here to make sure I'm not going to get shot in the back. And only one jumbo left. Wait until the drive's out and straight in the side in between the turret and the driver to make sure I kill the crew. And I'm going to push around. Now at this point I'm just seeing where my team are, so I'm going to drive back into where most of them are. Tap the B cap, so just re-engage into the situation and drive into the town at a straight point so I'm not going to get shot anywhere but my front. Just decapping as well to put them into a bit of disarray. It usually makes a few players rush back to the point to help defend it, and that way they're not going to be paying as much attention to their surroundings as they would be otherwise. Just going to go back around here. At this point they do start capping the A point, which does become a bit of a bother later in the match, as you will see. But for the moment we're just driving around and picking off what units we can. Our team is getting a little thinned out by the Hellcats, and they're going to start declining quite a lot very rapidly. I just see the back of a turret there of a Sherman or a jumbo, so I'm going to rush around the side. I'm not sure which side of the house he went down, so I'm going to go down here, just see him rocket past and take a risky shot into the back. Don't get the engine but get a fire, which is going to, at least going to put him under some pressure, and he's kind enough to show me his side there, and we take another jumbo out. It's always satisfying when you kill jumbos, isn't it? Probably one of my favourite tanks to shoot at. So we're going to go back and sit on the spawn road at this point, because a lot of things are going to be coming back to help defend that point, and we should be able to take some of them by surprise. So I'm going to take a shortcut over this mound of rubble here. Still checking around me because Hellcats, They end up in the silliest places when you don't expect them. Just pushing around here, checking all of my corners, something you should always do. It does seem a bit excessive when I watch it back, but even so, you know, it has saved me multiple times. It's always worth doing, just in case. Just trying to see if there's anything around the point, but I think it's clear. And we're going to sit in this row of trees up here and jump on some tanks that are coming up the road. I can hear an M19 over here, but he's not really much of a worry at the moment, as he can't really do much damage to me. I just see the top of a tank coming through there, so I push myself up the ramp, and he does just see me, but doesn't shoot quick enough, and we go right through his side again. I'm pretty sure I can see something else coming up through the hedgerow here, but I'm not sure if he can see me. He fires into the cupola, like, you know, good option, but he didn't hit it in quite the right spot, and just my commander was taken out. So I'm going to rush him here so he doesn't have the opportunity to aim, as well as pushing into the tank is going to limit the accuracy of the gun. You can see it jittering there, and we cut through his front armor pretty easily. That's another good thing this tank does, is it's quite useful for putting tanks under pressure, because most people are used to seeing the regular SU-85, and most of them are going to think, oh, I can just pen the frontal armor, so they're going to shoot willy-nilly and not aim for any weak spots. That's the general player. But if you do rush an enemy like that, it's going to make it a little bit harder for them to work out if they should be shooting a weak spot or not, because they're getting it generally confused with the regular SU-85. If they're under pressure to shoot and they don't have very long, they're going to go with what they think is the most secure, which is going straight at the front plate, which for this tank is not going to work. Now, you are going to run into players who do know the difference, but because it's quite a scarce vehicle, and most people are used to seeing the regular SU-85, they're not really going to consider that maybe their gun isn't going to be able to pen the front armor. But at this point in the match, most of our team has sadly died, so we're going to use the pretty impressive speed of this tank to rush back to the A point and see if we can defend it. I'm not taking the main road down, because if there's something on the cap looking up there, I can be spotted and engaged before I even get to the point. And it's going to be pretty close, but we'll see what we can do. Again, taking a quick but secure route down to the cap. I'm hoping to have the element of surprise on my side, coming from this direction, but I've been tagged, which nullifies that completely, but I do see a T-25 here and get the shot off. Lucky spot for me there, because he was about to have me. So I'm not going to drive straight up the road, because that leaves my right and left side available for shots. So I'm going to go up this side here and make sure that they can only hit me from a limited angle. Just scanning around here, checking my corner, and just getting onto the A-cap in time. So I'm going to push up a little bit further and scan to see what else is on the point, and it's another jumbo. Now I'm in a good situation here, because he's going to have to push out and look for me, and I'm going to be able to prepare for that pretty well, because he doesn't know where I am, and it's going to allow me to have the ultimate advantage in this engagement. So I'm just trying to angle there to see if he can actually see me, but he's going to drive out and start looking for me now. So I'm just going to stay still, making sure he can't hear my engine. Wait until he's out of sight to angle round to prepare for him coming down this side. I can hear an engine behind me just creeping in here, and there's a Hellcat behind me. So I drive forward a little bit, use that extra momentum while I shoot the jumbo to help myself turn around, just in case he notices. But thankfully he doesn't, and he is just waiting on that corner there, just checking if he sees me, and he doesn't, so he can swing in and get that hull break. So we have cleared the cap of 3 tanks in a casemate, which I like to think that's slightly impressive, if anything, but it does show that this tank can be pretty versatile in its advantages. Got a bit spooked by the Gaz there, not sure why he was shooting me, but oh well, maybe it was friendly. So hoping he's going to start the decap, I'm going to drive off and see if I can find anything else to shoot. And apparently I'm a hacker as well, which, you know, well, good for that guy. I mean, he can see right here. I've got it recorded, so got all the evidence he needs, clearly. So send that off to Gaijin, and I will be banned within a fortnight, I imagine. So best of luck. So just checking my surroundings. I think I hear an engine to my right, so I'm just going to pull the tank back just at the right time to knock out that Hellcat. So we're going to keep looking around, seeing if there's anything else we can shoot at. I think I can hear the squeak of a transmission behind me, but I'm not sure. So I'm just going to stay still, see if I can hear it. I'm not sure quite where it is. Just going to keep driving. I hear what I think is a 76 behind me. So I'm going to drive down this road and point myself towards the direction of where that gun fired. I come around the corner, it's another Hellcat. I press the mouse button, but it doesn't register quick enough, and I get taken out by the Hellcat. And he does manage to pen a rather strange angle on my lower plate there, but oh well, what are you going to do? Now I did try in vain to win this match, but despite how many kills I got, I wasn't able to defend myself from the sheer amount of Americans left on the team, as everyone on my team had died. But either way, I think it shows how quick this vehicle can be, how effective the gun can be, and just how effective the armor can be as well. And I did get a talisman as well for the SU-6 in this match, which I was pretty happy with. So I didn't get the win, but did get that as a nice reward too. So I hope you enjoyed the gameplay. Just before we go to the reward screen though, I do have another little clip that does again, I think, show how effective this tank's armor can be. As, however, I did bounce a few shots that last game, it wasn't enough, really, I think, to do it justice. So I'm going to park behind here on Normandy, and I'm engaging two jumbos. Which the armor's still a little bit of a struggle for this gun, but it does alright. You need to hit the right spots, the right angles, but I am bouncing a lot of these shots. They are missing a few too, still, to be fair, but it's easy to just park yourself down here and be completely impervious to a gun like this, unless they hit the cupola, but again, as I mentioned before, most people aren't going to be really thinking of that when they engage you. So I can easily dispatch these tanks, which usually give a lot of players a lot of trouble. Just checking around me here, and I see 3 tanks over by the church, a Jackson, a Sherman, and a Hellcat. So I do take my time with shooting just to make sure where the Hellcat is. Disable his turret, he's not going to be a problem. Now the Jackson is coming here, so I angle myself just quickly enough, and he bounces off me with that 90. I fire a little bit late and don't get the kill, but either way, we can now reverse and shoot that Sherman. So he bounces again, I bounce off his front plate because freedom, and just going to park myself here. He goes for the cupola and just gets the commander, as what generally happens, and I finish him off. So just a little bonus clip there to show how good the armor can be in most situations. So here we are in the review screen. So what do I think about this tank? There are a lot of things that play in its favour, and I think the main one is that people just aren't expecting it. As most of the time, well, before I started playing it, when I saw a Su-85 rather, of any variant, I thought it was the regular one and I went for the front plate, not knowing that the M variant is what you're up against. It can cost you a spawn. You know, if you're in a Panzer IV, if you're in a Sherman, you know, or even if you're in a Tiger or a Jackson, anything like that, you need to be careful where you hit this thing. A sure bet is to go through the driver's hatch if you're in something like a Jumbo or 75, 76 gun, because you're generally going to knock out the crew, but you need to be precise with your aim. But the driver's hatch being only 70, it does give you a greater chance to pen the armor if you're using one of those slightly higher pen guns. But it does function as a balanced tank. I think it's a good vehicle. It has its weak points, but its armor is generally effective that you need to be careful where you aim. So I don't think it's an OP vehicle in that regard, but I do think it's a very good one. It does also have the maneuverability on its side. It can swing the gun round very quickly, and it can get from place to place very quickly as well. You do have the standard 85 on it, which is capable of knocking out pretty much anything you come across. And if you do find something like a Churchill 7, you've got that APCR option as well, which, even though it's not that useful, is a decent option to at least have available if you do find yourself in a situation like that. The negatives I can think of really are just that, well, it's a casemate. You don't have a turret. I'm not really sure what else to say that's bad about this tank. I mean, you've got lots of things going for you, and the only weaknesses it has, are weaknesses it should have, It's not an overpowered vehicle at 5.3. It's fantastic. It's one of the best tanks I've played around this battle rating. Because things like the T-34-85 at 5.3 as well, turret ring, easy. Front plate, easy. Cupola, if you're in something like the Jumbo, you can take that out. And this one, it's bloody good. That's all I can really say. And I think it does deserve to get my highest ranking to date. A 9 out of 10. So, thank you very much for watching. Again, I do apologise that it's been so long since I made a video. I have been a bit ill and quite fatigued, so as you can probably hear, there are still cars in the background. I do want to get my window fixed, but the clincher is my landlord is not a very nice person at this point, and she is genuinely saying that she will increase my rent if she fixes my window. Which I think having a secure window is more of a necessity, but apparently not. So I can't really afford anything higher at the moment, so I'm stuck with a broken window until my landlord stops being an arse. But either way, I need to wait until night time generally to record, so there's less cars, and I've been a bit too tired whenever that's come around. But I have braved it today, so thank you very much for bearing with me, and these should start coming a little bit quicker once I get the confidence with making them a little bit more. But bloody hell, you're all brilliant. I've had some really nice comments, like really constructive feedback. It's been great, and I'm really happy to be doing this. So thank you very much for staying with me and watching these videos. It's very, very much appreciated. So, all that said and done, I hope you enjoyed once again, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.